Before we get on to today's episode, I want to give a big shout out to Darren Jenkins, one half of the Good Friday podcast. Thank you for the shout out, Bud, in your latest podcast, and thank you for your continued support. Hi guys, how you all doing? You're very welcome back to Autism and Me. If you're new to the channel, you are very welcome. Now, before I start, I just want to say a big massive thank you to everyone for your continued support throughout the series. It really does mean a lot, guys, so thank you all so much. Now, in today's episode, I talk about dyspraxia. Now, for those of you who don't know what dyspraxia is, allow me to explain. Dyspraxia, also known as developmental coordination disorder, that's like the most common name for it, or in short DCD, developmental motor disorder or developmental dyspraxia. It also affects planning of movements and as well as coordination, and as a result, so brain messages aren't accurately transmitted to the body. Dyspraxia is a lifelong condition, so once you're diagnosed with it, you have it for life. Now, dyspraxia is distinct from other motor disorders such as cerebral palsy and stroke. Strategies used to help cope with dyspraxia are often enhanced by occupational therapists, physiotherapists, psychological help, and speech and language therapists. People who have dyspraxia often find tasks of daily life such as working, driving, household chores, and grooming difficult. People with DCD usually have a combination of problems. Some examples of these are from gross motor coordination skills, large movements, fine motor coordination skills, small movements, poorly established hand dominance, as well as speech and language, and learning, thought, and memory. For example, from gross motor coordination is poor balance, difficulty in riding a bike, going up hills, as well as lack of rhythm when dancing or doing aerobics. Then fine motor coordination skills, small movements, for example, lack of manual dexterity, inadequate grasp, difficulty using tools and domestic implements, locks, keys, and doors. Poorly established hand dominance, may use hand for different tasks at different times. Speech and language, may have unclear speech and be unable to pronounce words, as well as that they may talk constantly and repeat themselves. And they also have a difficulty organizing content of sequence of their language, and then difficulty in planning and organizing thoughts, unfocused and erratic, and have difficulty with concentration. So my difficulty with dyspraxia would have stemmed from manual dexterity, lack of hand-eye coordination, concentration difficulties, memory loss, and as well as that movements. So for example, throughout school, I had difficulty concentrating, because for those who don't know, I also was diagnosed with attention deficit disorder. So I would have had difficulty concentrating in school, and I would have lost focus rather easily. I also had difficulty in school with language, so I could read a question but I might understand it, and also I'd have difficulty in writing. So to help me get over these things, I would have had the help of an SNA assistant. So he would have been a scribe to me and a reader to me, and I would have had him in class with me, and I also would have had him in exams. So it was a great help for me because I never had to worry about my difficulties affecting me in exams, because I suppose for most people who have had an SNA, they know that they write it down, they act it, so that way it's a huge weight off your shoulders as well. And I had a scribe and reader for all my exams in school and all my exams in college, which was a big help to me as well. I also gained extra time in school, extra time in both due to my difficulty in concentration. Now with the hand-eye coordination, that's something you really need in my favorite sport, which is hurling. You really do. Hand-eye coordination is key, and it could be the big difference between some players making and some players not. And I would have had difficulty getting into the pattern of it, remembering the steps, just simple things like holding the hurling the right way and learning just the basic skills like the way you rise the ball, the way you strike the ball, etc. Now, I would have had to practice a bit more because of dyspraxia. Some players you always have to practice in hurling, but some players, they practice and they get it first time. I would have had to really go hard on it if I wanted to improve. But I was able to get there with a lot of practice. I got there. In fact, I was on a road trip actually with my friend Chris, who's editing these videos. And I was actually showing his friend Ryan the game of hurling, and I showed him just a few things because we were in the shop as well, and there's hurling sticks on sale. So we decided to just show Ryan a few basic skills, and it was great. Like, and that just shows how far I've come. Like, I was able to show this guy the correct way to rise the ball, how he would strike the ball, what hand would go where, etc. It's brilliant. It took a lot of practice and was frustrating at times, but I got there eventually. I also got to show Andrew and Angus, Krista Fisher, and Nintendo 64 when they came over to Ireland back in 2015. I took them to a game of hurling and was able to show them the skills of hurling as well. And Christian, my friend Christian King of One, who was over here in last November, I was able to show him the skills as well because we did a tour of Croke Park. And even with, like, you know, gym movement, it was the same thing. I would have had struggles, like, you know, remembering the patterns of the movements, and that's one thing with classes. You need to, there's certain movements, like, you know, and even if you get one movement wrong, you nearly screw up the whole exercise. But I was able to get a grip of this thanks to lots of help, so that really did me the world of good. And I've really come over all these problems, and it just shows as well that with the right help and with the right mindset, you can get over these problems. So if I can do it, anyone can. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. I shall see you soon. Bye bye.